Reporter Angie Omar spoke to Eric Goldstein, the Acting Director of MENA program at HRW, on his assessment of charges that Algerian authorities are using against Hirak activists jailed for participating in peaceful activities calling for freedom and democracy and reforming the political system in Algeria.
The government of Algeria is using the most vaguely worded charges to crush this peaceful movement. Any kind of criticism of the authorities, of state institutions, calling to demonstrate, bring charges like harming national unity or defaming the president or defaming the judiciary or calling for an unauthorized demonstration. And people will be picked up for these charges and held for months before they're tried. Some of the people have been convicted and sentenced to 2 years, 3 years in prison. So it's a massive crackdown using charges that really shouldn't be on the books because they involve just peaceful association, people's rights to criticize the authorities. And this has been going on now, and it's intensifying in the last year.
On June 2021, President Tebboune amended the penal code by presidential decree, expanding Algeria's already overbroad definition of terrorism in Article 87 to include, quote, to work for or to incite by any means to accede to power or change the system of governance by non-constitutional means, and to harm the integrity of national territory or to incite doing so by any means. What do you make of such tactics?
We've seen such tactics in countries around the world, repressive governments and other governments too, sometimes democratic governments, who use the fear and the specter of terrorism to redefine it in a way as a kind of catch-all to envelop activities that I think the average person would not regard as terrorism. For example, in Algeria, the idea of wanting to change the government, where do you draw the line? But in this case, the government is calling actions like that terrorist, even if there's no, acts of violence involved. And so it's just the latest tool in their arsenal to shut down speech. Yes, the Hirak people, the activists want to change the government, but through a negotiated transition to a different kind of process for choosing leaders in elections. They were opposed to the election process that took place in 2019. They wanted it different, but they were peaceful in their demands.
Human Rights Watch demanded that the Algerian authorities should immediately release human rights defenders, civil society activists, opposition figures, journalists, and all others arbitrarily imprisoned for peacefully exercising their rights to speak and assemble. What was the response of the Algerian government and members of the Hirak movement?
We haven't received a government response to these claims, and we're not alone in making them. I think the human rights movement in general believes that the vast majority of people associated with Hirak and serving time or awaiting trial in Algeria did nothing but peacefully express their views on the political system and what they'd like to see happen in Algeria, or assemble in demonstrations or try to meet in the context of political parties or associations. And that there's no reason that a rights-respecting government should keep such people in prison.